Ministry coordinator for Red Hill Lutheran Church, and on behalf of Red Hill Lutheran Church, I want to welcome you and thank you for taking the time out of your week to come and visit us and learn about what your students are doing in their classrooms. So if you would allow me to pray, let's open in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, the beauty that you gave us, and the families that we have. We ask that you be with our families, our students, our teachers, and our staff as we start off this new year. Remind us that we are your masterpieces and that you have created us, and everything that you create is good. May our evening go well and smoothly. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Gaylor. And if you didn't see it on the way in, there is a booth out there with a lot of information on our youth and family programs, as well as our sisters high schools. Orange Lutheran and Crean Lutheran are out there, and so if you get a chance, stop and look at their booths. If you don't know, my name is Paul Marquardt, and I am the principal of the school. It's kind of interesting. Middle school parents, kind of what happens. The venue in here is not quite as full as it was last night, and everybody's still kind of coming in. So, you know, when you were a primary grade parents, everybody gets here early and they all get in and sit down. You can tell you guys have older students because you're a little bit more lax. You're like, okay, I've been through this before. It's not that big of a deal. You probably know by now that our theme for the year is We Are God's Masterpiece, based on Ephesians 2:10. For God has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do good things He's planned for us long ago. And what a neat thing. We get to continue to find out what are those good things as we grow up through middle school, into high school, college, and then in our adult life. Our school philosophy and mission, and maybe you've seen this a while ago, but it's been some time, so I just want to cover it again at a high level with you. Red Hill Lutheran Church and School is really here to reach and serve the local community, equip hearts, minds, and souls, and then release people out. And our purpose here is to nurture and develop students positively to impact their world for Jesus Christ. That is our purpose. Our philosophy of education is that we want to develop all those unique gifts and talents that each student has, and there are many of those, and we're going to talk about those a little bit later tonight in terms of our specialty and elective programs and how they get a chance to kind of try out different things. We have 4 expected student learning results, and some of you, if you walk on our campus, you might know where these are printed. They're actually on the pillars of the building that holds up our middle school. And we use the acronym SOAR, S-O-A-R. And each year we focus on a different one of those. This year we're focusing on the A, able and talented. And the strategies that we are seeking are bullet pointed there for you. But even though we have that ESLR, we've taken that a bit farther this year. And what we've done with that is, obviously it's a unique situation, and the social emotional learning needs of students are kind of foremost in our mind, more so than they ever have before because of the unique situation we've been going through. Our goal this year is to work with our school community to develop all aspects of health and wellness with Christ at the center. And we've got a spiritual well-being wheel as well as our wellness wheel over here. And Martin Luther said, "This life, therefore, is not godliness, but the process of becoming godly. Not health, but getting well. Not being, but becoming. Not rest, but exercise. We are not now what we shall be, but we are on the way. The process is not yet finished, but is actively going on. This is not the goal, but it is the right road. At present, everything does not gleam and sparkle, but everything is being cleansed." Before school started, we did some professional development with our teachers, and one of the things that was emphasized were the words, "not yet." And teachers share that with your students and in the classroom, because a lot of times we try things, and sometimes the first thing a kid will say is, "I can't do that. I'm not good at that." And so what we want to do is continue to emphasize just what Martin Luther said here. Maybe we're not good at that just yet, but let's keep trying it. Let's keep working at it. We've also incorporated this into our the core competencies for social and emotional learning, and we've highlighted each of the 5 different core competencies: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. And we've combined those with our monthly Christian character qualities and our philanthropies. And those of you who have been with us for many years know that each month we focus on a different Christian character quality. And so we're trying to tie this all in together this year for the students, provide them support for their social and emotional learning, and also tie it into Christian character quality, which is something we've done for many years here. Tonight's agenda is all going to be in here with the exception of our breakouts for the end of the year field trips, and I'll cover that at the end. So the agenda is listed here. Obviously, we're almost done with number 1. We're going to talk about biblical integration, our core subjects, and then our specialties and electives. And I'm not going to take you through that because, as you can tell, we've got more gifted teachers than I here. And here are our core teaching team. And we're going to start off with Mrs. Coggins is going to come forward. And let's give her a warm round of applause.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Coggins. I'm the 6th grade math and language arts teacher here, as well as our Bible teacher for middle school. All right. Our middle school philosophy, I think this picture kind of says it all. Our team is committed to planning, actively engaging lessons for your students, because we know as middle school students, it's hard to get them excited about lessons. And so when students are actively learning, we know that their attitude will be much more positive, which will have much better results for them. Our school integrates GATE strategies in all of our classes. This is the 4 C's, and we try to implement this in most of our classes and lessons, because having students develop these 21st century skills is really important for them. The 4 C's is communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. And so if students are practicing these skills now, we know that they'll be more confident for their long-term goals. Biblical integration. RHLS is very unique in this regard, because we're not just teaching Bible to them in Bible class, but we're integrating Bible in all of their classes. So the other day, actually, a student asked me at the end of class, she was going to pray us out, and she said, "Mrs. Coggins, are we in Bible class, or what class are we in?" And I said, "Actually, we're in language arts." So that made me happy that a student actually forgot where they were for just a moment. This is our Christian framework. This is just one tool or strategy that we use. This helps students to internalize the gospel message. The formal name of the one on the left is the visual valet, and it helps to organize biblical truths and helps students to organize their thoughts. It also helps teachers and students to have a basis to communicate their thoughts and ideas between God's world and God's word. On the right, we've got our Bible tenets and posters, and students are also making connections using those as well. And our new Bible curriculum that we just rolled out and implemented this year for all middle school students, Summit Ministries Walking in Truth. It has 2 components to it. It has the worldview component, and it also has the Bible component. The worldview component is teaching students how to defend their faith, with apologetics, and it gives them critical thinking skills, which helps them to have real-world application when they're talking to friends or anybody where they feel like they do need to defend their faith. And then the Bible component focuses on the book of Acts. And I will now turn it over to Mr. Brenner for history.
Thank you, Mrs. Coggins, and welcome again. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. So I am the middle school history teacher, so I am all of your children's teacher for history, and we're just going to kind of briefly go through what we learn in the different grade levels. All right, the keys to success, of course, those are general across all 3 grade levels, so just some things to keep in mind. One of the biggest ways your child can learn in history class, or really any class, is being an active participant. So whether it's a classroom discussion or a project or an activity, if they're working with their classmates and answering questions and actively participating, they're going to get more out of class. When we take notes, if they're taking accurate and complete notes, notes that are meaningful to them, using their class time wisely when we're working on projects, it's okay to socialize a little bit with your friends, but let's get to work and get our projects done. And a big one, and again, this is really for any subject, is ask questions. If you don't understand an assignment, if you don't understand a concept we're learning, just ask the teacher. And the other thing I've told the kids from week 1 is that as we go through and study the different things that we're going to study this year, we want to realize that God has been involved in history from the beginning, and he's actively involved in it, and we want to look at that as we look at the different human events that we study. So this is the overview of what we're going to be learning in 6th grade this year. So if you have a 6th grade student, we just got started today with Mesopotamia. But these are the kind of the bigger topics. We're going to hit ancient Egypt, India, China, Greece, and then we'll end the year with Rome. If your child is in 7th grade, we pick up the year where we left off in 6th grade. So we pick up with a little review of Rome, the fall of Rome, and then from there we go into Islam. And that gives us a real great opportunity to compare and contrast Islam and Christianity and Judaism, those 3 together. We also have a West African unit, which the kids like quite a bit because we get a big project that they get to do at the end. Can involve dancing, making African masks, so they have a lot of fun with that one. And then, of course, medieval Europe is another big one that we get into and have another big project as well. If your child is an 8th grader, this is what we're going to be doing this year with them. 8th grade is American history, and we're going to start with the British colonies, the original 13 colonies. We're going to talk about the American Revolution, and then we're going to take a little break from the textbook, and we're going to do our Constitution unit. And so we go really into depth into the U.S. Constitution from the preamble to the very last amendment. We go into it, and by the end of it, the kids are going to know the Constitution very well. And the great thing about it is we can see it in everyday events that are on the news. And then we kind of, towards the end of the year, after we get back from the DC trip, we will wrap up the year by talking about the Civil War. All right, I want to turn it over to Mr. Wakita now.
Good evening, and again, thank you for coming. We appreciate all your time, and I'm grateful to be able to teach all of your students. They're great kids. So hopefully you can hear me back there. I'm usually not real good with the mic. I go too far sometimes, go too close. My name is Mr. Wakita, and if that doesn't ring a bell, if you're new here in 6th grade, it's because it's usually followed by Mr. Wakita posted another homework assignment. Mr. Wakita is giving another quiz, so hopefully that helps refresh your memory as to who I am. So, as far as science is concerned, science, we actually talk about the earth sciences. Well, we actually talk about the physical sciences, which is physics, geology, biology, and we even go into chemistry. So, there we go. In science, as a basic setup, notifications will be given out on Google Classroom and on Gmail, because once they go on Google Classroom, the kids will get a notification on Gmail as well. And they also go out on Edlio. Quizzes, yes, they do happen once a week. I give quite a few quizzes, but that allows the kids, if they have a bad day, to catch up and make up for that one bad day, because I know bad days happen. And we do give pre-quizzes, so I give them multiple chances on quizzes and tests as well. So the tests happen at the end of each topic, so we have multiple lessons. Those are small for the quizzes, and then we have a test at the end of that. We have homework, which is weekly, that gets posted on Edlio and Google Classroom. And then we do other assignments as well, project-based assignments, team-based assignments, and that would be things like classwork, labs, and projects. So for you folks, if you go on the Red Hill site, you will see science and all the other subjects listed if you go down to the middle school area. Hopefully you've all seen that. And you can also check grades and assignments there as well. So, oh, actually, let me go back one. I press this in my class. This is extremely important to me, and I impress this upon your students as well. If you look in the top right corner, this is on my board every day of every class. It says, perform at your best when your best is required. MS Science requires it daily. Because I want your kids to give me their best, whatever it is for that day. They might be tired, they might be on their game, but I want them to give me whatever best they have at that time, that day. And that's what I expect. So, on to the grades. So for 6th grade, it starts with geology. And for 6th grade geology, we talk about Earth's place in the solar system. So we talk about the Earth, the planets, all the bodies in the solar system. And if you've been talking to your kids in the past few days, you know that we've actually jumped into VR already. So a bunch of your kids have actually thrown on the VR goggles and have been floating around or inside of the ISS. And they might have gotten to pick up a few things and just throw them around the ISS, which is cool because it's no mess for you guys to clean up. So that's cool. So we did that, and then we're going into weather and climate because we know that's getting to be a big issue, especially nowadays, as things are happening around our country and around the globe. We will go into surface processes and internal processes as well. So this really covers the spectrum of geology. So one more thing I might mention is all of this stuff is tied in with our STEM teacher as well. So our STEM teacher is actually tracking what we are doing so they can actually gear assignments according to what we have here. And the kids are seeing a lot of overlap with that. So there's a lot of synergy going on. And for our class, for my class, I also do language arts stuff, we do math stuff, and we do history stuff as well. So the kids get the whole spectrum in science. Moving on to 7th grade. So for 7th grade, we're actually talking about biology and a little bit of chemistry. They'll get a taste of chemistry here, and then they'll get more of a dose inside of 8th grade. So here we're talking about ecosystem interactions. Lately we've been talking about the California Floristic Province, which is a lot of the wildlife specific to California, and cell and body systems, and your kids will get to make a cell model. Usually it's like around this big, and it's styrofoam, and they put all their things on it, and it's really fun. Last year we even got to display it out along the driveway, so everybody got to see as they drove in. For those of you that were here last year, maybe you remember seeing them as you came in. We'll talk about inheritance and genetics, and hopefully you guys get involved in this too, because the kids will use an app called Pigeonetics, and they will actually get to breed pigeons and put in different features on those pigeons until they get the right breed that they're working for. And it's almost a gamification of inheritance and genetics. And I've had kids that will actually have to put the iPad down because they're playing Pigeonetics so much at the dinner table, and then the parents get involved because they want to try it out too. So when we get to that, ask your kids about it. I'm pretty sure they will tell you about it. And finally, we'll talk about biological evolution with a faith-based perspective. All of the stuff that we do is undergirded with a biblical integration. Okay, so the geology, the physics, and the life science. So let me move on. Okay, and finally our 8th graders who are working in physics as well as chemistry, and we're starting off, with energy and forces. So we're talking about mass and Newtonian laws, and yes, hopefully if you remember that, you don't have too many bad memories of that. But we're talking about that, interactions of energy, talking about thermal energy and heat flow, and then we're going to do chemical energy and chemical reactions. We'll even talk about nuclear reactions, which the kids really get excited about. So we'll see how nuclear reactions are performed, which is kind of cool. And 8th grade is one of the projects that they enjoy, and you know your kids. We actually chuck watermelons off the 2nd floor to actually measure the velocity and the kinetic energy and potential energy. So we do that, we have a nice clean tarp down there, and then the kids get to devour whatever we throw down. And we've thrown down watermelons, we've thrown down, what have we done? We've done watermelons, coconuts, pineapples, and potatoes. So yes, and a lot of times a lot of the younger kids will come out and watch, and it's kind of fun. So I'll try and take some pictures so you guys can see. And I know your kids will take pictures too. So I think that's everything I had to cover. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting you all at some point during the rest of the year. Again, thank you for coming. I'm going to turn it over right now to Mrs. Coggins and Ms. Tarkoff. So again, thank you.
All right, well, this is loud. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mrs. Tarkoff. I'm here to speak on behalf of Mrs. Coggins and myself about language arts. So let's see, use the clicker here. All right, so language arts, literature. Obviously, we read a lot in language arts. We read many types of texts, so nonfiction, fiction, poetry, novels, short stories, so we try to cover all the different genres. And then the students are engaged in high-level literary analysis. So that's for literature. And then for writing, we follow the Common Core state standards. So they do argumentative, narrative, informative, research reports, all kinds of writing. Writing is a special area for me. I've been part of the UCI Writing Project for about 12 years. So I'm always trying to bring new ways of teaching writing to the students. So Mrs. Coggins and I partner together for that for all the grades. We're also both certified in gifted and talented strategies, so we're trying to get our students to think, all the teachers use those strategies to have higher level thinking and critical thinking. Let's see, we also do vocabulary. The students will be getting their Greek and Latin roots books, and so we do studies on that. Grammar, so explicit grammar lessons and application opportunities. Speaking and listening, that's a big thing. So again, all the teachers, we do debates and Socratic seminars and oral presentations and speeches, dramatic interpretations. So always opportunities for the students to develop their public speaking skills. Okay, let's see what else we got. Okay, so for the first trimester, all grades 6, 7, 8, we're working on a dystopian unit. The students will be looking at The Giver, if any of you know that story, and we're also doing some short stories that kind of connect to that. All of that's leading up to an argument essay where they're going to kind of debate and argue about conformity versus individuality. The books that we're reading this year have to do with making choices. All the characters, the themes are about making choices and the consequences. So it's an overarching theme that connects also with our social-emotional learning about responsible decision-making. Kind of important in middle school. They're learning how to make good choices. Let's see. And then, so that'll be an argument and also a narrative piece in the first trimester. Second, third trimester, this is kind of where we branch off. So first trimester, all the grades are working on dystopian literature. In the second trimester, 6th grade, they're going to read The Phantom Toll Booth, a play version, and they'll actually do some argumentation and debate with that unit. 7th grade will do A Christmas Carol, which is a play version. For that, they'll talk about philanthropy, in biblical integration with philanthropy, what we're called to do, and they're going to debate and write about if money can buy happiness. In 8th grade, they're reading Flowers for Algernon, so I don't know if any of you know that or not, but that brings up some ethical issues kind of connected to science as well. Let's see, so we also do cross-curricular units, so Phantom Toll Booth, I'm sorry, not Phantom Toll Booth, Percy Jackson Lightning Thief. That one's connected with the mythology and the Greek studies that's in the history class. And then that would be for 6th grade. And 7th grade does Crispin, which is medieval times. And that's also cross-curricular with Mr. Brenner in history. And also, I think Mrs. Bridgman does a catapult with them, so we'll see if she does that this year. So we try to do all of our units kind of integrated to get the most out of it for the students. And then 8th grade reads Anne Frank, the Diary of Anne Frank. So they also study the historical context. Let's see. Oh, and those are also connected to biblical integration. With the Greek gods, obviously, those are the Greek gods, but the kids talk about the attributes of our God and what makes him an amazing, God compared to the Greek gods. So that's for the 6th graders. When the 7th graders are looking at Crispin, that's medieval times and feudalism and the, the class levels. So they'll look at what our identity as Christians are and our identity in Christ. And then for Anne Frank, they not only study literary conflict, but how do we as Christians, how are we called to resolve conflict? And how do we develop spiritually on the road to spiritual maturity? So those are some of the things we do there. And then at the end, we're going to wrap it up, connecting back to our theme, God's masterpiece, and how we all have unique talents and gifts. And they'll be reading nonfiction, Gifted Hands by Dr. Ben Carson. Sixth graders, they have the young readers version, and then the seventh and eighth graders will read the standard one. And with this, that will lead to research and informational writing. So we have some pretty good units developed. Hope the kids have been enjoying themselves. So we've got off to a great action-packed start, lots of learning going on. And I've enjoyed the time I've had. It's just been a couple weeks, and I know Mrs. Coggins and I are looking forward to a lot more. So that is our language arts. And next up, Mr. Smith will talk about math.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I actually tried to get out of speaking tonight, said that I belonged out there since I'm a parent, but they didn't buy that one. So if you guys know me, I teach math here. I love math. I love teaching math. And that's actually, I think, as I watch my colleagues up here speaking, I think that's the tie that binds us. We all come from different backgrounds, different work backgrounds, but we all love dearly what we do, so thank you for that opportunity. I'll start with, in math, the essential question and kind of the guiding question that leads us is that if mathematics is the language which God used to create the universe, how and why do we learn that language? And how does learning that language reveal Christ in creation? How does it reveal God in the world around us? And that leads to a lot of really great mathematical discussions in our classroom. I'll kind of walk you through really quickly. Actually, let me step back here for a minute. I'm speaking on behalf of a number of great math teachers. So myself, I teach 7th and 8th grade math, so pre-algebra and algebra. We have a fabulous geometry teacher, Dr. Hayes, who teaches a very small cohort of geometry students. And then we have two really great 6th grade math teachers, Mrs. Parks and Mrs. Coggins. So I am standing up here for all of them for now. Our 6th grade content, students will get into ratios and proportions. They start getting into equations and expressions, and it's kind of the start of a career and an exploration of algebra. And then we get into some concepts in geometry. That segues into a 7th grade year, and 7th grade is a pre-algebra curriculum. 7th grade, we spend much of our time on integer operations, and then we get into statistics and probability. We will have a probability carnival, which is a great time to explore probability and explore some of these concepts in a real world, in a problem-based application. And then we end the year looking into linear equations and linear relationships. And that leads us into probably most of your favorite subject, certainly mine, which is algebra. I tell kids that when you get into algebra, that is the time when if you ask your parent for help, most of the time they're going to kind of back slowly away from you and say, go see Mr. Smith, or go ask Khan Academy, or go do something else. Algebra is actually, I love teaching it. It is an exploration of all things that I love, and it reveals the beauty of math. We spend a lot of time on linear equations, exponential equations, absolute value equations, and then we get into the awesome quadratic equations. And that will segue and really kind of prepare students to jump into geometry and then algebra 2 in high school, and then calculus and beyond. And then for the handful of students that are taking geometry as 8th graders, they do a lot of triangle geometry. They get into trig, circle geometry, transformations. So I'll leave it there. Again, if you know me, I like to share my enthusiasm and my love for math. I tell kids that if any day looks the same in math class, I'm probably not doing my job very well. I try to make every day look different. I try to share and be infectious with my love for math. Hopefully I will share that with your kids. But our days look different all the time. Sometimes kids have to do math to get into the door of my room. And every day it's the same old joke. Wait a minute, Mr. Smith, if I don't do this math, does that mean I don't get to come into your room? But some days they do math to get in the room. We have prayer, biblical integration. We'll check homework. We'll do some discovery. We'll do some inquiry. Our focus for the last few years has been on inquiry-based learning. Instead of saying, here's a rule, learn it, it's why is a rule what it is, and we explore it. And so that it's not memorizing a rule, it's seeing a concept, which I think in math and science and beyond makes it more of a less memorizing and more just understanding, which is I think what we're all shooting for. And then, the goal is to check for understanding and then have students practice with homework. And I'll, kind of echo what Mr. Brenner said earlier, is that we are so ready and so loving to be here to help. And so we would encourage you, if you are one of those parents that's scared of algebra, no shame in that. Please encourage your kids to come see me. We are all here to help, and we love doing what we do. So our doors are open. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mrs. Parks. Thank you, guys.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Parks, and I'm just going to quickly tell you how you can be successful, yes, you, and your students. First things first, be there, punctuality, right? Absences can impact learning. Like Mr. Smith just shared, there are things to enter into the class, and if they're not on time, that puts them behind and the lesson gets interrupted. So encourage your students to be there, and you can model that by being punctual yourself. Listening is important. Questions is more important. Questioning means that they're taking it in, they're asking, and they want to learn more. Discussing, in all of the classes, you've probably heard project-based learning and group work. There's lots of discussion to be had. Discussing is important. Thinking and wondering, as well as taking legible notes. This is a really important thing that even in math class, we really talk to the students about making sure that they take great notes, because that's how they will be able to hopefully answer and solve their own problems. If not, they can always ask for help and advocate for themselves. Embracing their mistakes is another huge thing we are focusing on this year. The wellness wheel, growth mindset, knowing that you can always learn from your mistakes, and if you don't know it, you don't know it yet. And lastly, or two last things, asking questions, we kind of already talked about that, and then seek outside help if necessary. Again, advocating for themselves. Don't just sit there and twiddle your thumbs, ask for assistance. There's lots of willing teachers and their classmates too. So being successful is important to your students, and we look forward to having a great year. And with that, that wraps up our academic portion, and I'm going to pass the microphone back off to Dr. Marquardt.
So I was sitting over there and I was thinking, except for Mrs. Parks, I believe every other teacher started their career not in teaching, and they've got real world experience. I think Mr. Brenner, you started out in law enforcement. Mr. Smith started out in finance, and Mrs. Tarkoff was in retail. Mr. Akita was an electrical engineer, and I don't know what Mrs. Coggins started out in. Accounting. Okay. Why is that important? I don't know. I think it's kind of neat that you have some teachers that started out in something other than the ivory tower. I think that makes a difference in how they approach things. We have, in addition to those core teachers that your children see every other day or maybe sometimes twice a day. What I think is the kind of the bow that wraps everything together is our specialty and our elective teachers. And as students come up in K through 5, they're exposed to all of the different specialty areas. When they get to middle school, they get to choose what electives they want to focus in on. And so our specialty and elective teachers are well versed in their areas. They work very hard at it. And so we're going to show you a little video that they put together of what they're doing.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Carla Chan, and I teach art, middle school art, and as well as K through 5, and I'm also the resource teacher. I can't wait to have you in my class and show you how you are God's masterpiece.
Hola, ¿qué tal? I am Señora Blocker, and I will be your Spanish teacher. I can't wait to meet you. Nos vemos!
My name is Mrs. Bridgman, and I teach 7th and 8th grade STEM and 3D printing.
Hello, my name is Dina Acapinti, and I am the middle school drama elective teacher and also Red Hill Lutheran's ASB advisor.
Hello, this is Mrs. Laura Loden, and I'll be teaching the middle school handbell elective, and I'll also be directing the before school choir Sinspiration.
My name is Mr. Ben Hunter, and I teach middle school concert band. I also teach our before school string orchestra and our after school drumline.
Hi, I'm Anna Rodriguez. I'm the new K through 6th grade STEM teacher. Can't wait to see you back at school, and we're gonna definitely have fun with our new aquascape. See you soon.
Hey, I'm Mr. Isaiah, and I teach praise band.
Hello, I am Coach Martin. I am the PE teacher and the athletic director for after school sports. I will see you at the red line.
All right, and that's our specialty teachers and their presentations. Many of those teachers you guys have probably met before. A few things to wrap up. The entire presentation here tonight will be emailed out with these links to the areas that are shown there, the top 7 things about Red Hill Lutheran Middle School. Questions? Contact these teachers. They're very responsive. We ask you to email them rather than try to call them because they actually are working during the day, so they don't answer their phones, but they're very responsive to emails. If you want to know what's going on, follow their Instagrams. They post things that are going on, and it's kind of fun to talk to your children about what went on today when you see a picture of what they were doing during the day. Few announcements. A week from this Friday, you're all welcome to the Welcome Back event that's coming up. It's going to be right here on campus. It's free, and you get ice cream for free. But if you want a burger, TK Burgers, it's $10, and you can get that on the app or the website. We also have our Teacher and Staff Family Sunday dedication on September 19th, which will be here. And I know a lot of you go to different Christian churches in the area. We ask if you can for that one Sunday to come and join us. Students will be singing, and we'll be dedicating our entire teaching staff. Then, of course, Angels Band Night. Tickets are closed for this. We sold over 300 tickets, and Mr. Hunter is expecting a great turnout for our band to be playing on the field at, is it Angels Stadium? Let's call it that still? Okay. At the Angels Field on Monday, September 20th. So if you bought tickets, that's great you're going, but after the game, get your kid home, get them in bed, because they got to come to school on Tuesday. This is new this year. Our Gala, I don't know, how would you say that? You can say it either way. It's our 60th year that we've been a school, and we're celebrating with a Diamond Anniversary Gala on November 6th, Saturday, November 6th. In the past, we've had these galas in the spring. We've moved it into the fall intentionally, and tickets are now on sale, and you can save $25 if you get your tickets early. And I believe Cynthia McGuff, I saw her, just raise your hand, Cynthia. Cynthia is our chair lady of this event, and she's got a great committee, but Cynthia is doing a terrific job. So thank you, Cynthia, for all your work on that. If you guys have any questions, feel free to contact her. Our office can put you in contact with her. Thanks, Cynthia and your committee for all you're doing. And finally, we're going to be excused from here if you're in 7th grade and 8th grade. If your student is in 6th grade, just stay put, all right? Because in here, you're going to learn about the 6th grade field trip to Astro Camp with Mr. Smith is going to talk to you about that. If your student is in 7th grade, you're going to learn about, I think I messed that up. Did I mess that up? No, 7th grade is Catalina. 7th grade is Catalina, and that's with Mr. Wakita in his classroom in room 17. It's on the 2nd story of the middle school building. And 8th grade, Washington, D.C., is going to be over in the CLC with Mr. Brenner. And each of those presentations are going to give you a lot of specifics about what's going on. But again, 6th grade, you stay in here. 7th grade to Mr. Wakita's room. And 8th grade to DC. Now, in the event you actually have 2 students in middle school, the presentations for 7th and 8th grade will be recorded. So you'll be able to get those. So if you have a 6th and an 8th grade and you're trying to decide which one to go to, I'd encourage you to stay in here and catch the 8th grade